Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it.
Sometimes I just really wonder what's wrong with people. Like every show I do,
The list is long.
Like maybe as comics, we are hyper focused on what's wrong with people. But man, after our shows, people will come up and just do the weirdest things. And I think because I'm friendly on stage or, seem very approachable, people will come up and do stuff that, do they do this to normal people?
What's happening to you? What are they doing to you?
Well, here's an example. After one of my shows this weekend in Ohio, this woman came up to me and, I'm wearing my glasses and I don't know if she thought there was no lenses or something like that, but she just started tapping on the lenses of my glasses.
Tapping the lenses?
Yes, like just touching with her finger, like, oh. And I'm like, I'm backed up, like, oh, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Why are you doing this? And, maybe she had a couple drinks or something like that. She's just like, but it was an older middle-aged woman. She looked like a school teacher. And it just, the idea of like, well, I guess she was trying to make sure they were real glasses.
Because your frames are so wacky. She thought these have to be novelty glasses from a toy store.
Right. And I guess she thought there was no lenses in them, even though these are prescription lenses that she's now got her fingerprints on. Mm-hmm. But I was also like, what did you think would happen if there was no lenses? Like you just stick your finger right in my eye then.
She could have jabbed you.
Like what would even go through somebody's brain that they would think that is a proper thing to do? And I know that you had some of that with like, you would talk about, you'd even have a joke where one of the punchlines was like, no, you may not touch my hair.
Yeah.
Immediately people after shows would come and try to touch your hair.
Right. Well, I think they took it as a challenge. Like I'm telling a joke about how people don't like when I don't like when you ask to touch my hair, or black people don't like when other people ask to touch their hair. It makes them feel otherized or it makes them feel objectified. And that's the subtext. I don't say those words on stage. I say it in a funny way. And then one guy just comes and yanks a curl and like, I got away with it. And it's like, well, it wasn't a challenge.
No, yeah.
I wasn't daring you.
You didn't get away with it. The authorities are at the door right now.
This is assault. Yeah. So what is the deal with audience members that have no boundaries? Is it that they are singular individuals that have issues, or is it the whole environment of, they've had a few drinks? I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of I've just enjoyed a show and then I run into someone who I saw on stage, not a comedy show, but let's say a Broadway show. I'm a little wowed. I still don't feel entitled to like clobber them.
No,
approach them with my hands.
No, I saw a good way that was handled. There was a comedian I worked with, not this past weekend, but the weekend before out in Oregon. And he has a very long beard, probably a foot long. And it's very groomed. It's a really nice looking beard. But someone after the show said, can I stroke your beard or can I touch your beard? And he said, no, you may not.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay. That's why I asked. And it's like, okay, but
yeah, he knows what's up. He said, no, thank you. I don't care for that.
No, thanks. And, Jerry Seinfeld does that with people. Yes,
I was thinking of him. I heard he turns down hugs.
Yeah, turns down hugs from celebrities and turns down shaking people's hands and things like that.
There's a video that went viral of Kesha wanting to hug him because she was so wowed by him. And she said, can I hug you? And he said, no, thank you. She couldn't believe it. And she goes, oh, okay.
Well, she tried to come in for it anyway. And he goes, no, thank you.
Nope, no huggy.
No, thanks. Yeah, and he'll do that with shaking hands. If somebody tries to shake hands too many times, in the movie Comedian, somebody says that like, I just want to shake your hand, and he goes, "We just shook hands." So we already did that.
He's consistent,
right? And so, I think the appropriate way, most people do not come up to a comedian and act weird. So the appropriate way to act towards a comedian is the way you would act towards anybody else. Like if you met a school principal, you wouldn't go yank on his beard or her curls or poke her eyes.
Yeah, a principal rarely wows you with their speeches. If they're at a podium in an assembly hall, it's usually, let's make the morning announcements.
Yeah, well, I'm just picking anything, any boring thing. You wouldn't go to the bank. You wouldn't go. No, these people don't wow you, but you would think that people that wow you, you would have even more deference and respect towards them than to just come up and poke them in the eyes.
Well, what I don't like is the opposite. I mean, I don't like what you're talking about, but I also don't like when people are so shy, maybe. Well, let me just tell you what they do. They walk out without looking at you. Like,
Okay.
they just can't stand the thought of telling you thanks for the show or good job or anything. They just want to leave. So I will say thanks for coming out, just to kind of connect with them as they leave. And some people are just like, bye-bye. Now, maybe they didn't enjoy the show, but then again, if I don't like something, I'm like extra nice. I'm like, thank you very much. This is my problem, obviously.
Yeah.
It's okay if people don't want to say anything or look at you on their way out because maybe they feel social anxiety. Maybe they think, hey, our transaction is done. You told the jokes and I clapped. That's me saying thanks.
It could be. It could be that they're very weird people. That's another thing. What's wrong with people? I don't know. And so, well, this will happen too, is that I will tell a joke, and there's certain jokes that I know if it's a certain type of audience will get this reaction. So obviously you're black and I'm white. And so I have jokes about that. And one of them just being like, I don't have a black wife look. And I will see a certain type of white audience member. It's always a white middle-aged person. Sometimes it's younger. It could be somebody that's like from Portland or Seattle that's young. That
Progressive.
Does this too. Yeah, progressive. Who
doesn't want to believe people can be defined by their race.
Right. It's almost like, what do you mean?
What's a black wife
Yes.
look?
What's that supposed to look like? Almost like a challenge to the joke. And it's like, I can tell they haven't been out of their bubble, or they're the type of person that wants to just deny that race is even a thing. Like we're beyond that type of thing. And it's like, well, not based on my experience.
That's a funny phrase anyway. A black wife look, because I think everybody knows what they mean if you've seen somebody in an interracial couple, or if you've seen twins, or if you've seen cats, you have an idea of one that comes to your mind. It's a generality, right? So I love when I can use generalities as shorthand on stage and people know what you're talking about. So when there's that one person that's either extra particular or they're progressive or not, maybe they're really backwards. Then they're like, well, not me. Don't include me in this group. It's like, well, why not? Come on. Join the fun. That's what I say.
Well, that's the thing. The whole thing is, in a comedy club especially, you're supposed to, everything should be taken with, through the lens of, this is funny. This is not meant to be the deepest discussion that we're having here on some
and also
astral plane. This is just supposed to be funny. Like,
yes,
inherently gut funny is really what we're going for here.
Exactly. And not you need to find me funny, but we all want to laugh here. We're all having fun here. Like, it's inclusive. It's not just look at me. Although I am the one doing the heavy lifting here.
Sometimes I have some audience members that are like, look at me. And
no,
like,
someone, and the only thing worse than audience opinions is comments on social media. So a comedian said, I hate when there's always that one person who has a straight face. What do you do with that audience member? And I replied, well, I know it's hard for me to even move past it. I want to talk to them and say, are you with us? Stay with us. Then someone replies to me, well, maybe they're neurodivergent. And maybe they don't want us, or they are enjoying themselves, and you just can't tell. You ever think about that?
Yeah.
And I think, well, that would solve the mystery, wouldn't it?
Or maybe they're a member of the Klan, and they don't like black comedians. Did you ever think about that person commenting?
Because that's what I think about.
Did you ever think about that?
While we're sharing opinions. Yeah, so people that, just want to center their own experience and all the context of their own life in your rogue generalization are quite annoying.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. A lot of people that make those type of comments about a performer that's very seasoned like you, or the other comic that was making this comment, is they don't take into consideration that we have infinitely more experience at this than they do. So even saying like, well, they might be this, it's like, yeah, they might be, but I've done thousands of shows and almost never is that the case. And a lot of times you can tell.
Well, I'm also okay if that's the case, too. It's like, you don't know until you ask. So I still don't think, I should walk it back. Maybe I shouldn't have talked to them. Maybe I've exposed some vulnerability in there. No, who cares? Like, that's the whole point of comedy, is just to find out. And then you move on. They start laughing with you, or they continue not to, and you move on. So it wasn't a gotcha that they thought it was.
No.
Also, I'm neurodivergent. Thank you.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah, gotcha. That's why I can't move past it.
Did you ever think about that? They didn't think about that. Can we get back to the black wife look? I just am curious. What do you think a person who has a black wife looks like? Who's a white dude? I have it in mind what I think.
I would say Jamiroquai.
I thought you were going to say Eminem.
Yeah.
Even though Eminem famously has never dated a black person outside of maybe Mariah Carey.
That's a little surprising.
That's just what I've heard. Who knows? I'm not talking about people, you pay to sleep with you. I'm talking about like people you've publicly been seen with as dating.
Okay.
His wife that he raps about, ex-wife Kim, she was white. So it's funny that I would pair someone that dresses like him and speaks like him, but he uses, black vernacular, and he's in a black dominated industry of rap. The industry isn't dominated, but the musical art form was pioneered by a lot of black people. So anyway, I picture larger pants, haircut like in a black barber shop, even though you have white hair, golden jewelry. I'm picturing jewelry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a chain.
But
and there's
not
a
in your
medallion.
guy, not with Jamiroquai. Or maybe your Jamiroquai guy could have a chain.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And then the black woman.
Very manicured beard. Very thin manicured beard. It's never a bushy beard. It's thin and manicured.
Yeah, it's tight. The lines are tight. I'm picturing that too. The shoes are fresh. Like everything's clean and crisp.
I mean,
on a man that dates a black woman.
Yes, which I guess I sometimes I'll say this on stage. I mean, there's hints where I have very fresh Jordans on, and they match the shirt and the glasses.
I like to think that I influenced that, but I know I don't because I'm not a sneakerhead, and I don't require that of my partners. But that is funny that you pointed that out. Now, the black woman with the white man, I don't picture them both speaking like a vernacular that would be considered culturally black. I picture like culturally white or proper.
Proper, huh?
And look, the black people in my life were proper. Like my dad's a doctor, and pretty much like
prim and proper type of thing.
It was like the I don't want to say Cosby Show. Sidney Poitier. Let me say Sidney Poitier. It was black excellence
for all of our listeners that over the age of 85.
So when I say proper, I don't mean proper is only solely owned by white culture, but I do think that the majority of black women I think of that have white partners, myself included, probably grew up surrounded by white people. Is that off in your mind? That's what I picture.
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, just the demographics of the United States seem to indicate that most black people would be around white people.
You're right, statistically.
Whereas the reverse is not necessarily true. There are areas that are very white and there aren't a lot of diversity, but every black area, or traditionally the black area, there's a lot of white people around, so there's no getting away from white folk.
Right, yeah, true. I just remembered I was a fan of Everclear as a young lady, and they had this horrible lyric, which is like, it wasn't easy for me to be a scared white boy in a black neighborhood. I'm like, who are you preaching to?
I know. Apparently you, because it wasn't me.
No, it just all that did was add damage to my psyche for me
I'm listening to Blackstreet, and you're listening to Everclear.
The white man complaining about the white man's problems.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He was just trying to. I took his side as a kid. I'm like, yeah, maybe it was tough for him. And now I grow up, and I'm like, what was he singing about? Stop it.
I know. Yeah. What was his point with that? Like.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, it was. I was scared in this.
Did he not realize the patriarchy was on his side? Whew. Anywho, you might notice how calm I'm behaving lately, Luke.
Is that what we call this? Calm.
I have a better transition. You know what those audience members need? They need some meditation.
Okay.
See, I had a choice. I was going to say, he's going to notice how calm I'm being and ask me about it, and I'm going to tell him that I meditated today, but that didn't happen. So
I think some of these audience members need to think. And so if meditation helps them think through what they're doing, then maybe.
I'm actually, I haven't measured how many weeks into it I am because I'm not consistent with practicing, but I would say I've done enough regularly scheduled 20-minute long meditation that I've sat still long enough for it that it finally is yielding some of these results I've heard about all these years. This is not my first time trying meditation. I often hated it.
Okay.
Have you ever tried it?
No, meditation's not my thing.
You look at it like it's cold mashed potatoes, and you go, I'm not going to enjoy that.
I mean, I guess it depends on what you are referring to as meditation. So there's different versions of meditation based on culture, based on religion, based on lots of different things. So
Sure.
I certainly have spent many hours just thinking, like being quiet and thinking.
Yeah.
You know,
Or not thinking, like if you're playing video games.
well,
Sometimes meditation is defined as the absence of focusing on a thought, but just like being able to not think.
okay, well then that's a different type of meditation than what I was just about to talk about.
Sorry,
So,
but let's go back to your version.
Yeah,
Okay,
which
spend time
is fine.
thinking. You walk through the woods.
yeah, I like to go on long walks and just think through things, and especially college days before iPhones, when you can have every podcast and every YouTube video, and you can have every song that's ever existed, in your earphones. I would
Napster.
Yes, I would actually just walk around and I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't have a phone on me. I wouldn't have music on me, and I would just walk and think.
And no iPod
No iPod. No.
with a turning wheel. Click,
No,
click, click,
I
click,
believe
click.
I had a Discman, and nobody wants to take that around.
No, because
You-
it skips.
you
The
had to-
second you hit a sidewalk that's uneven, boom.
Yeah,
your
and
song's
you
gone.
had to either hold it in your hand or have that belt clip. And I mean, nothing makes you look older than having technology clipped onto your belt. It doesn't matter what era it's from.
Right. You shouldn't be wearing your devices
No.
outside of your person.
Yeah, for a while there, people don't really do this anymore. But man, when cell phones were really getting popular, right before we went to smartphones, the dads that had the cell phone holster.
Yeah, a little leather case, a little
Yes.
holster.
Oh, they flip it up like they're Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
taking a phone call. So
Okay, so you would go for a walk without technology. That's good.
that would be, I guess, my version of meditating. But sometimes I just sit and think, like I will, especially when I'm trying to think about jokes. That's part of how I get to a place of ideas, is just letting my mind wander. Now, I guess in many ways, meditation is not letting your mind wander. It's to have absence of thought, which doesn't interest me at all. Couldn't.
Ooh, he's afraid of the silence.
I'm afraid of the silence. Well, then, I mean, but what difference would it make if I'm not thinking of anything? I'm not thinking anything bad either.
What am I, dead?
Yeah.
It's death to you.
I know. I'll meditate when I'm dead. Put that on a t-shirt.
Well, me being alone with my thoughts, for years I would dread it because, and I didn't know why, but my mind would ping pong around a lot and I would feel emotionally overwhelmed or just like befuddled or anxious and worried. And it would almost seem like I'm not going to be still because when I'm still, just nothing but bad thoughts come at me, as if they are boogeymen, they're just waiting for their chance to come get me. It's almost like someone who refuses to sleep because they'll have nightmares, which is another thing I used to do. However, we got a handle on a lot of what I would have thought were quirks, like forgetting my wallet on the train for the fourth time this summer. Things like that where you said, you might have ADHD. And I remember rejecting that outright and being like, no, you're a weirdo. But then
I'm not neurodivergent. The guy in the front row is.
This guy in the comment section is. Yeah, in the front row guy. So we looked into it about a year of reading articles about it and checking off all the boxes and feeling very validated. I was like, okay, maybe I will look for a diagnosis and see. Now, it happened at a time, which was the end of the pandemic, where a lot of people were diagnosed with it. So then I became skeptical of well, maybe just everybody being stuck in their house and on their phones and not allowed to talk to other people is what brought it on. And who knows about that? I'm not Gabor Mate. But this is a man who always is on Instagram or out in the world speaking about ADHD.
Okay, thank you, because I was like, okay, you lost me on that one.
He didn't miss that reference.
Sounds like a French dish. I'm like, oh no, no, thank you.
But it helped to know that because just getting at the heart of an issue it takes a lot of the mystery away, and it also gives me more power to deal with it. So
you can move forward once you know something. The mystery is taken away. There's a diagnosis. You can move forward with something.
For sure. And years leading up to that, meditation seemed ideal to me, but also impossible to me, like becoming an astronaut or even swimming. I'm still haven't conquered swimming. You know how people do the stroke and then they turn their head and breathe and then they go back into the water? For some reason, my coordination just tells me I'm going to gulp a big amount of water and drown. Like, I don't know how to do it slow enough to finally stay afloat and move forward. You can swim though, right?
I'm not the best at doing that, like the version of swimming you're talking about.
Is that called breaststroke?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I mean,
Michael Phelps.
I don't think that's the breaststroke, but
Okay.
I do think that what you're talking about, well, maybe it is the breaststroke, but it's really the breathing technique that you're talking about. I think you're supposed to do that with almost every type of
Just
swimming
to survive in water.
stroke. Yeah. I think you're supposed to be able to breathe.
You're supposed to be able to, breathe the Earth's
Yeah.
atmost and then hold your breath
Yeah,
when
you're
you're
not
in the
supposed
water.
to inhale the water at any point during any breaststroke or dog paddle even.
This is a sidebar, even though that swimming was a sidebar. This is a sidebar to my sidebar. When I took our daughter to the community pool, a lifeguard saw her sputtering and said, the very first lesson we teach in swim classes is when you face in the water, always blow bubbles. And the idea is whenever your face touches water, you breathe out. Now, infants get this instinctively, but somehow when you're a toddler and up, you lose it and you start gulping water like a fish, like me. And so that helped me to get that free lesson from him. I started blowing bubbles. She was like, yeah, okay, thanks. And I'm like, aha, I've unlocked it. Hey, babe, let's practice the bubbles again, I say to her. And thinking it's for her, but really it's for me. So back to swimming is a challenge for me, but the original point was meditation looked that hard. It looked like doing complex math, and I didn't think I could ever get a handle on it. But lately, the technique that I like is essentially writing down your fears and then in resentments and then ripping them up and then being still for 20 minutes as a break from it's a way to purge all your thoughts that I said were ping-ponging in my mind. And then the meditation is to give your brain a chance to like rest and repair, which I think of when I think of watching TV or sleeping or eating chocolate cake. I mean, that's my rest and repair personally. my preferred method.
Repairing your brain with chocolate cake.
Yeah, nothing finer. So, or a warm bath. So when I started approaching meditation as, this is a treat, not a struggle or homework, then I started to like it. And I'll be pushing it on you soon, young man.
No interest in it. Like, that's the thing with these type of things. I don't see the benefit to forcing myself into doing something that I have no interest in. Like, I just, I don't see the point. Like, I don't feel like something's missing in my life that meditation would somehow fill. I mean, there's like the Christian form of meditation, meditating on God's word type of thing.
Meaning just reading the Bible, or you read it and then think about it?
I think you would read it and think about it.
Okay.
Think about what does that mean? How does that apply? Which I guess I've done that before. But just in general, like this, the quiet thinking through, which I guess even the Bible talks about that. It's just, I don't know. It just
You're a
doesn't-
heathen.
I know. I guess it doesn't appeal to me. I don't know. I just don't want to sit and be quiet.
No, I've always admired that about you, that you know your limits, you know what you don't like, and you would hear me struggle with, this person invited me to this, or this person emailed me for that, and I don't want to give it to him, and you'd be like, then don't. It was always easy for you. You're like, problem solved, move
Yeah,
on. And I'd be like, no, I have to struggle with this for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's not like I don't have a problem saying no to people, especially over the years. I've had that problem where it's like, I will go to some pyramid scheme thing and like,
seminar.
Yeah. Like, that sounds good. Yeah. No, I guess
I don't know. I want to sell your little plastic items.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've talked about it on here before, but I remember going to one when I was just out of college, and I think it was something I had put in a resume on monster.com, and somebody said, yeah, we're looking to hire, so come on in, we're doing a thing. And it was just a pyramid scheme thing, and one of the other people there, like maybe 2 minutes in, he goes, hold on, and he stood up, he goes, guys, this is a pyramid scheme. He's not actually looking to hire us for anything.
Oh, good for him.
And he goes, we should all get up and leave right now. And
who's coming with me?
And who's coming with me? And I was kind of like, I don't know what to do here. And I just sat, and I wish I'd been like, yeah, I'm out of here too.
Yeah.
Instead, I just sat there, and the guy that was leading goes, well, I guess that guy doesn't want to make money. And I'm like,
the one pyramid scheme I got caught up in, I just remembered, was when I was 20 or 19. I was 20. I attended a meeting about a modeling agency, and someone on the street found me. It was in Broad Ripple in Indianapolis, and they were like, you're beautiful, you should attend this class. And it was a little business card that said modeling Inc. or something like that. And I was like, finally recognized for my beauty. So I showed up. And like, halfway through it, the spiel, he was like, well, you're going to need to buy these headshots, and then you're going to need to buy this package, and then you're going to need to pay for this. And I thought, oh, man, I thought this was me. And the first clue was that nobody else in there looked like me. They all looked like people I would not cast in a show.
Yeah.
Or I would cast in a Fellini film, let's put it that way. So I was like, oh, these people also got cards? Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff in show business.
But I didn't give them a dime. Once I found out they were asking for money, and I had already fortunately heard, you shouldn't have to pay for this stuff ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's in general, like in show business, you will see a lot of that kind of stuff where it's like, oh, take my class or do this thing, where it's like, which there are legitimate versions of that. Mm-hmm. But legitimate versions, I think, are more upfront with what something is. So like there's a comic that we know, he's successful, but he offers comedy coaching. Mm-hmm. He doesn't go like, I'm going to get you an audition to SNL and I'm going to, just bring 5 of your friends here. It's kind of like, no, what I do is I help you build your material or help give you a different perspective on this, or kind of review your stuff and see like maybe some things that you're blind to, not able to see.
Yeah, it's a service, then they have a fee.
And here's the
rate. Makes sense.
And
the rate, yeah.
That's completely upfront, which that's what a legitimate business would work. It wouldn't be like, hey, there's something really special I see about you. All you have to do is give me $1,000 and I'll hook you up with show business. It's like, no, that's not.
Yeah, the number seems outrageous. And also, like you said, it's not, you can't find it out up front. You have to come to the meeting to hear about it. That's your other red flag. And the work that you have to do on your end is always disproportionate to what they're doing for you. Mm-hmm. I notice. Like recently, I have a separate nail Instagram where I love nail art and talking about nail polish. I don't know why, but I love it. And someone emailed me and said, hey, we'd love you to be an influencer for our brand. And this is regular. A lot of people email about you being a part of their program. It just depends on how they package it. So this person was like, and we'll pay you this amount, and just all you got to do is opt in and say yes. And I was like, wow, this is great.
It's easy. I'll say yes.
Nothing to lose. And then you were like, isn't it a little too easy? And I thought, well, I guess we'll find out. And then, they want you to, they were like, you'll pay our shipping costs to give the product to you. And I'm like, why do I have to go to the post office and, pay a shipping, or I wouldn't have to package it. But, just like the idea of what they wanted me to do is something usually they would have on staff handle. Like the PR package is just sent. I get packages all the time from companies. And so the fact that this company was like, will you kindly cover our postal costs? And it's like, no, that's weird.
Yeah.
So it turns out they were not going to pay me what they said they were. And they all needed me to give them my bank account so that I could transfer them the money.
Yes.
And they were a prince in Nigeria. That was
the big... That was the big giveaway right there.
And signed, Prince of Nigeria.
The Prince.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of scams out there. And sometimes the scams, they make it look really good. There's, and they target certain businesses too, and the comedians have gotten targeted. I know that there's a comedian I know that got scammed on something, and he was like, hey, make sure you don't know. And I had actually seen some stuff like this kind of come through where they basically say, hey, I'm looking for a comedian for my event.
Private party, private event.
Private party. What's your rate? And you'll send them a rate, and then, they immediately agree to a high rate or whatever. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. And then go, okay. And so then I forget how they do it, but it is something where like maybe they send you some money and then they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we sent you the wrong, we sent you a check, but if you could go ahead and just Venmo us that money back, we're going to send you they sent you like a bigger check than you're supposed to, like, oh, we were supposed to give you $1,000. Sorry, we sent out a $3,000 check. If you could just send us $2,000 back, that would be great.
Wow.
And then they cancel the check.
Right.
Then the check doesn't exist anymore.
But your real money you wired to them is gone.
Exactly.
That's a good one. I thought you were going to say they call you in for a private party, but then they ask you to send video clips of yourself ahead of time, and then they ask you to send it without a shirt. And then they and then they ask to see your feet.
Yeah. That's a different type of.
That's another scam.
That's not even a scam. That's just a pervert out there. So
that's just Charlie down the street.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what did that make me think of? Oh, that was funny. Yeah, there are different ones that's hard to fall for. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. The other red flag is when you think you're buying a product like jewelry or cookware or soap or skincare, and then really what your friend who is selling you this item wants you to do is become someone who hosts parties that sell that and recruit other people to sell it. I can't stand that one. That one is so transparent to me. It's like, I'm signing up for your trinkets, not your job. I don't want your job. Yeah. And it's always easy for me to say no to that friend of like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that's what you wanted me to do. I don't have time to do that. Thank you, though.
Yeah, and it makes me feel so bad for the people that get involved in these, because I know that basically everybody on the lower levels of these things are hopeful and they want something to work out. And,
of course.
And maybe sometimes they're needy or desperate. And so, not all the times, but like...
or they need a flexible kind of source of income because, they have kids or they don't have time to do this or that. Yeah.
Right. There's a hope there.
Yeah.
And maybe they will be a little blind to some of the negatives of the thing because they have the hope. Mm-hmm. It's the people at top that are just taking advantage of people. It's like, they're making, hand over fist.
That's why crypto seems so weird to me. Apologies if you're succeeding with crypto to anybody out there. I don't know.
Do people still do crypto? I don't know.
One of them, the bubble burst on one of them. I don't know if it was NFTs or if it was crypto, but either way.
Yeah, I think the NFTs, something happened with those where it's like, which I didn't get those in the first place.
I didn't understand it in the first place.
I'm like, every NFT I saw seemed to be like some weird cartoon chimpanzee with sunglasses on, and I'm like, aren't these all the same thing? No, they're slightly different.
I forget. Yeah, what was that music band that had this song? I'm feeling bad. I got sunshine. I can't sing the whole thing, or we're gonna royalties.
Don't worry. The algorithm will never pick that up. The AI is like, I have no idea what she is singing.
Every time I'm like, Google, what's this song? They're like, sorry, we're going to need more than what you've just done.
Shazam just deletes itself off of your phone. Like, I'm sorry.
I quit.
There's nothing I can do to help you.
Anyway, it looks like the monkeys from a music video I'm trying to remember. So, and I totally get the entrepreneurial spirit that says, I would love to be ahead of the curve on this one. Mm-hmm. I would love to hitch onto something that not everybody else knows about. Because, that's like inventors are like that. Mm-hmm. But when the bubble bursts or when it pans out to nothing, it just makes me feel for those people.
Well, I think that my guess, and I could be incorrect about this, but I think my guess is that the people that succeed at these things fail at a lot of them, but they diversify their stuff so they're succeeding highly in certain things and other things fail. So maybe they invest in NFTs, they invest in crypto, multiple different cryptos. They're investing in stocks.
Hedge funds.
Is that how it works?
They're the highest risk. What I remember is that they're the highest risk thing and they cost a lot of money.
Yeah. So, just all of those things. And they probably have some source of income or capital to begin with that they can invest in, and they go, oh, you know what? In crypto, I made $1 million. In NFTs, I lost $30,000, but it doesn't really matter because I made so much more over here. So
let me tell you why I'm never going to get rich quick. Because it started.
I'm not going to get rich slow.
I'm not going to get rich slow either. No, I'm slow and steady wins the race, or I'm slow and steady eventually completes something sometime maybe. So in fourth grade we had something called mini economy, and you had fake money and you had to provide a service to the classroom. I made a paper like accordion worm. You could make an accordion and I put a face on it, and people were like, oh, these are cute, and I was like, yeah, collect them all, and I would make different faces. Other people were making friendship bracelets, other kids are making Lego cars. So I made these and I started earning lots of money on them, and I even had people making them with me. I felt like I was such an entrepreneur. I was like, oh, I got a team making mine. And then I amassed all this money, and the whole point was you could spend these dollars at the end of the week on little things like free reading time, or what I wanted, a bag of Cheetos, because they just came out with paw-shaped Cheetos. But on the final day, I kept amassing the money and I wouldn't spend it because I was like, I'm going to buy them out of all their Cheetos. I'm going to have Cheetos for the rest of my school year. And then she said, all right, guys, turn in your money. It's time to end it. And I was like, what do you mean end it? And she was like, that's it. We're not going to play this next week. And I didn't get a chance to buy the Cheetos. Like, I had to turn in the money. It became garbage in my hand. And so I just couldn't believe it. And there was no talking her out of it because I had waited too long. So I don't like to take risks because of that. And also, I don't gamble. And I know you've played casinos before, but you don't go to the slot machines in them.
No, the only time I've ever even done the slots or anything like that I've done stuff in Atlantic City where there's a bus that you take from New York City to Atlantic City. And so I'm going there to perform, but I'll take the bus. The bus is like $20, but then they give you $20 in casino credit.
Great.
To just put in slots, and you have to use it even to cash it out. Mm-hmm. So I'll use it, and it's like if I win anything with that, I'll just keep the money, whatever that was. I don't keep playing it till it's gone. Yeah. I just whatever I can do to cash out. So there's a couple places like that where I've worked at a casino where they give like a credit or something like that to the performer. I've done those, but I don't.
Is that enough to give you a dopamine hit to want to play further, or not really?
Well, I can tell you, casinos in general are definitely set up to make you want to play. It's a lot of lights flashing.
Yep. It's Showbiz Pizza all over again.
It is Showbiz Pizza. It's like there's things ringing and bells going off, and you hear coins. Even though you don't see any coins, you hear the coins.
You hear them a lot.
they're pumping in the sound of money into this thing.
Somebody's winning somewhere. Why not me?
So yeah, I mean, I'm gamble averse. Like I just can't think of giving away my money for nothing.
I know, I can't stand it. And even if someone was like, "I'll give you $5 to gamble," it's free money. I'm like, well, then I'll keep the $5.
Yeah.
And buy myself a few candy bars.
Well, yeah, which you completely use up all that money anyway.
TJ Maxx owns me. I know what you're talking about, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we don't invest, we don't gamble, we just waste.
Okay, we have family listening to this that thinks that we're always on the brink of destitution. So let me just point out, we are very financially savvy.
I was gonna say we are. No.
Yeah. Send money. No. But yeah, I think I like the idea of kids at Showbiz Pizza with a big cup full of coins and sitting and just babysitting the skee ball machine, being like, I'm going to be a while. They got a little candy cigarette.
Yeah, people in casinos, they have a very distinct look. And I think it does start out early at Showbiz. At Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, yeah.
Yeah. In the ball pit.
Yeah, I think it does too. Well, here, let's play a game together. I've got an idea for us. And I think... well, first, before we play it, do you have any grievances you want to air? This is a good time to check in with you and see. Is there anything on your mind?
I don't know. I don't know that I have a ton of grievances that I want to talk about. Maybe if you brought something up, it would trigger me. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, thank you. I do have something I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah, since you brought it up, let's hear what your grievance is.
I was hoping you would have nothing to say. Well, I noticed when you get home from trips, you notice something about the house that isn't right. Like, it's just, you point out something. And it doesn't matter if I've always folded the blanket on the couch. Like, that one always looks good. I do the pillows.
Mm-hmm. It's right next to the pile of laundry.
I always clean the stove off. There's no pasta sauce on the stove. It's pristine. It's crystal clear.
Okay.
But yet you'll be like, oh, table's covered with mail, I see. You can just throw this stuff away. What is that? What's that about?
Well, look, maybe it's a difference in our the way our minds work, our brains work. Mm-hmm. But I do see how you'll be like, I folded this blanket. It will be up next to a pile of laundry.
Yeah.
I see how I put this one book away, but then there's another stack of books left on the table. Yeah. Or the table's just covered with papers. Just like you might think, I put this mail over here.
First of all, our daughter became Edward Scissorhands overnight. She just decided she likes cutting things into miniature slips of paper. And now everything is covered with bits of paper.
Well, it's not just her stuff. Let's not put it all on her.
But I hear Tim Burton music every time I see her with
dishes,
pick-up scissors.
Just tons of dishes every time I come back. And And
More dishes than meals, one might say.
Yeah, there's more pots. Like you use up every single pot when I'm out of town. Pots, pans, everything.
I do find a way. And you know what my secret is there? If I don't want to wash the pan that's in there, I just reach for a new pan. So maybe you should just limit us to 2 pans in the house, and then I'll have to wash it.
I think that maybe that's an ADHD thing.
Maybe.
Where it's like those people that have that affliction are supposed to have one pan in their house, so they will just use the same pan and be forced to clean it.
Or do I just switch from ever eating out of pans? Like my pan's dirty. I guess I better eat it with my hands.
You cooking it with your hands too?
No, I guess, yeah, you use a pan to cook.
You just
soup right from the can.
Just hot dogs over the gas stove with your hand.
Like a boxcar hobo.
Yeah. And so, it's that kind of stuff where I prefer things to be cleaned every day. So when I'm here, I'm usually the dishes person. Put the dishes in the dishwasher. I clean the pans by hand usually, and I dry them off. I put them away so that it's nice and clean.
It's almost like a magic trick when you do it. I sit there and watch you, and I'm like, wow, look at the focus. Just know he didn't walk away to go fold one sock and then come back and then redo the bags of all the chips, like put the clips in the center of the bag. He didn't do any of that.
I think this is what you need to meditate on. How can I figure out how to do the dishes?
Just get distracted. Okay, thank you for letting me air that grievance and then turning it back on me. So here's the game. It's a word association. It'll be quick. I'm going to give you one word, and then on the count of 3, you say the word it makes you think of, and I will too. And ideally, we'll match up on that word. If we don't, we take those 2 words that we just said and think of the one word it makes us think of. Okay. So if I said banana, and on 3, you said peel, and I said fruit, then what does peel and fruit make us think of? And then on 3, we both said apple. It'd be like that.
Okay. I think I get it. Well, we'll try it. And if it's awkward, then we got some awkward humor out of it.
Okay. Well, since I'm looking at a blanket, here, blanket is our first word. On 3, tell me what blanket makes you think of. 1, 2, 3.
Fur.
Baby. Okay. I said baby and you said fur.
Fur baby.
What does fur and baby make you think of? 1, 2, 3. Dogs. See? Okay. Isn't that neat? So yeah, I thought it would take us a long time to get to where we are because you talk about how much our minds work so differently from each other. But look, we're in sync right away.
We are meant to be together.
After 2 tries. Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.